Hello everyone to a new video. This time we're actually finally getting back to what made this channel exist in the first place, which is Blender. After so long, Blender actually comes back into our lives and I'm so happy it does. So as you can actually probably notice, I changed the setup a little bit, which is the mic's position. It's not in my right side anymore, it's finally in front of me, and that is because when it was there, the support for the mic,
it's like nobody cares,
was not long enough, and I had to basically say something like this to talk and be able to talk into the mic. Now I can actually say straight and actually talk right into the mic, and that's pretty good. Also, I'm talking a little bit about these technical things because it kind of ties into the YouTube video I posted on Friday. Another thing is, if you're going to buy a mic, I would suggest you, if you can afford it, get a shock absorption for the mic. Probably you don't know what it is. I did not know what it is. I just thought it's something that makes the mic look a little cooler. I'll show you how it looks right here. Also, you can get a pop filter that will kind of make the sound look a little cleaner. It's a little better, but the shock absorption is the most important besides the mic itself. The reason is, it's not a must. As you can see, you can hear me pretty well just like this. However, with the shock absorption, you can avoid sounds like this.
Fucking weak, cause Taylor Swift is your new top, and if you about to drop, she got.
This is me barely tapping the table. And yes, probably right now you saw a little bit of a joke of mine. However, this is actually pretty annoying when you hear it, because even if you write a little bit of your keyboard, you still hear that, and that's very annoying. The shock absorption actually will help you with that, because what you hear are basically the vibrations of the table reaching through your support to the mic, and you hear that. The shock absorption is basically a support that will hold your mic so that basically all those vibrations will be absorbed by that standard, by the support, and will never actually reach the mic, so you basically will never hear anything like that, which should make the sound much more pleasant. And with all this technical stuff and me talking about vibrations and shit like I know what I'm saying, let's actually get into the video. But just before that, I just want to tell you, if you're new here, please leave a like and subscribe to the video, and please don't forget that the goal actually of this channel is to get to 500 subs, so that this channel can actually get monetizable and we actually can grow, as a community, because really that's the point. And don't forget that I posted my first ever video, my first ever gameplay video on this channel, and it is so nice. I have a spare tire. It's gonna be a nightmare to change it. I barely have the tools, but let's hope I manage to do it.
Ooh, what on earth?
Fucking hell! Oh, that actually gave me a heart attack. Jesus Christ, I did not expect that. I really enjoyed playing this game. It's an indie game, so for all you game devs out there that you try to learn, that game is made by one person. It's a very small studio that had other really good horror games in the past. And I think you should support them. It's a very cheap game on Steam. It's €7. It's called What Have You Done, Father? And I really recommend you check this video out as well. But with all this being said, let's actually get into the video. Actually, one more thing before we start the video. I have to shout out someone, which is Curtis Solan. I hope I did not butcher your name. He actually did tell me, and I hope you'll comment again telling me if this is fine now, about the sharpness of the videos. I did totally forget I had the settings for the laptop camera, and now it's actually changed. I lowered it quite a bit down. Please comment if there are any other problems like the color or the sound, or really anything. Just let me know and I will try to fix it. But I did also discover that Curtis Solan has actually, I will put it right here, has a YouTube channel himself. So I do actually recommend you go check it out, and if you want, actually subscribe to him. So shout out to him, and thank you so much for the comment. And now we can actually really go into the video. So finally here for Blender, we're actually going to be able to finish this next texture. So it's again not like I'm gonna do the entire body. This is gonna be a pretty short video because I'm not gonna do that much more to this. I think this is a pretty good texture in on itself. So actually don't take into consideration the arms. You don't care about those. We're just gonna concentrate on the body itself. So what we're going to do is use a little bit of texture painting and really decals to make this body more interesting. If you remember, the last one actually had quite a bit of stickers and paint and stuff on it, and I think that gave it a lot of personality. I want to do basically the same thing to this one, only a little bit different because we're in Blender. It's a little easier in my opinion to work with. So let's actually get right into that, and I hope I did not screen the mic right now. I'm still getting used to the new position of the mic, okay? I'm sorry if I did. I'm really sorry. Okay, so first things first, what do we need to do? Well, we do have these absolutely crazy nodes right here. So these are not gonna be nice to necessarily work with, but we can deal with it. So first things first, I'm going to duplicate this mix shader because we're actually going to use it. I will need another principled BSDF, just like so. Okay, and really I should be more or less set to go. And these things base color, it's actually gonna be a new image texture that I'm just gonna call something of the sorts like I don't know, 101 sticker. And you'll see why I called it out in just a few seconds. And I'm gonna make this actually I'm gonna leave it to 1K. It's good enough, I guess. We don't need the alpha. And yeah, actually, let me turn everything on. You know what? Doesn't matter. Good. So we have this. What do we do with this now? Well, really nothing that we didn't do so far. We did use image textures before, so you kind of know how this goes. So we have everything UV unwrapped already. If you did forget how to do that, please actually go and check out the video where I do show you how to UV unwrap stuff and UV unwrap the body. But now basically this is what we will see, right? This is a UV unwrapping right here. And basically, oh, let me actually activate my screencast so that you guys can also see what I'm pressing. Really, this is gonna be the image we're painting over, right? It's just a black texture, nothing to do with it. So it's not really working for us because we want our texture to be there. And I did teach you before how to do this, but it's actually super easy. What you gotta do, well, first of all, we need to set this to material because that's why you don't see it. But basically, right now we need to put this mix shader in here, right? And mix it with this one. And right now, what this thing will do is actually mixed to basically shaders, right? Because our principled BSDF will give this a different shader than it had so far, right? And it finally loaded. It took it a little bit of time, didn't it? And right now, as you can see, it's a lot more darker. So if you put this to 0, it's gonna work. If you put this to 1, it's going to be total black because it's gonna be the image texture we actually have up here, which is pretty fine, to be totally honest with you, because we like the way this works. And now hear me out. We can actually use this in our advantage. The way we can do that, it's actually, instead of using this here, right, our image texture can be used here as a factorial. And actually what our image texture does now, it's not telling our body what the color should be of the principled BSDF, but it's telling the mix shader where the principled BSDF should be. So basically, right now the principled BSDF, I'm just gonna turn it metallic all the way up and the roughness all the way down, because it's gonna be way more clear for you when I'm gonna draw it. And also, I'm gonna make this all the way up to white. And where is it? Here, the saturation. Let's actually make it 0 and the hue to 1. And now when I'm actually gonna draw, this is what will happen. We're basically drawing this exact metallic, pure metallic with zero roughness over our body, which is really, well, good, honestly, because this is actually creating a good thing for us. Now, of course, you might say, but why did I use it in the principal BSDF in the first place?
No one says that.
Because you can still do that. Instead of the base color, which we can just choose it for the principal BSDF, I just think it's more convenient because you can change it wherever you want and whenever you want. You can use this image, the image texture, for something else that I think it's a little more important. You can actually use this for roughness as well. So right now it's purely black, right? There's no roughness whatsoever, and it's gonna make the body completely metallic basically. And you can just draw roughness onto it, which I think it's the more interesting stuff, as you can actually see. It's doing the exact job we needed to do. To actually be doing this, I'm going to do this on my graphics tablet. Of course, you don't need to use a graphics tablet. You can easily just do this by yourself. But you know, I have this in my advantage, so I'm going to use it. You can do it with the mouse, pretty simple, so it's not that big of a deal. Because we're really not going to use anything crazy, we're just going to use a simple brush, because we're just gonna draw over it. And actually I'm gonna put the arms in here, because I would like to see where the arms are, so that I know what I should avoid. And I do kind of recommend you to have more or less everything that could be in, you know, your way. I mean, the details, for example, here, again, I have to kind of show them because they are gonna be in my way. I need to know not to draw over them. And so I have this, right? Pretty easy, standard stuff. Also, I should, so the strength is set with the pressure. Let's actually make the radius. I want to see how does this reacts. Okay. It does react pretty well, not gonna lie. Okay. I can totally handle that. It's gonna be a little bit cliche, kinda, everything that I'm doing, but honestly, I like it. So, whatever. Well, too bad I cannot actually make a fucking zero, right? Can I? And I think the one good thing that I can totally give to a tablet is the fact that it gives off that painted vibe, because it's, well, painted.
What?
It's literally what it is. And I can just do this. So it kind of brings you over, you know, and gives you a little more reality vibes, which I'm always in love with. I'm gonna just make this a little thicker here. Hopefully, I think it looks really good. And these numbers, by the way, in case you're wondering, I don't totally know what they are, but what I would say they are is like the, you know, the numbers and like their name, so to speak. Of course, each of like this character has a name. It's, you know, Scream Team, but let's say we have two textures, so let's call it, you know, you can call it whatever you want. Okay, so we have this, right? Which looks good enough. Can we do anything better with it? Of course we can. And actually, let me move myself over here so that I can actually, you know, so that you can actually see the shading a little better. Because with this image here, we can actually do something with it. We can actually, I keep pressing Shift Space because of DaVinci instead of pressing Shift A. So Shift A to actually get a noise texture in here, and let's also get a mix color node, and we're going to mix the image here with a noise texture, and actually let's see what we get. Good. This is actually a pretty good thing. Let's scale the noise texture, let's detail it a little bit, and also let's put a color ramp right in here so that we can actually make this a little bit more seeable. Something like this. Not too harsh, honestly. just a little bit, a tad bit, and a 0.65 should do, and this is pretty good. And right now, what we needed to do is actually just affect one thing. We needed to affect the number, nothing else. I'm not interested in absolutely anything else. I was using a noise texture on my brush. That's why it looks like this. For you, it might actually look like just a one solid line. Perfectly fine. I actually like the look of this, but you know, just in case you're wondering why it looks different for you. So like this, what we will do is actually put here, where is it? Multiply. And what multiply does is basically multiplying the number, so you can actually see that the noise is actually now inside there, as you can actually see it right now. And now when you play with it, well, with a factorial, you can actually see the intensity at which the noise is, you know, seen. So let's actually reduce the noise way more. I'm gonna bring the noise to like a 300, and it's going to look something like this. And I'm going to get the factorial, you know, to like a maybe 0.65. And you might wonder what we do with this. Well, with this, we're actually going to do something, at least in my opinion, a little interesting. We're going to use this as our new roughness, but also as our new normal map. And of course, we cannot use it as an actual normal map. So what we are going to do is use it, you know, in conjunction, whatever. We're going to use it in combination with a bump map. You know, when you don't know how to use words, just don't. Be like me. And now, what this should give us is this. And it looks awful. Why does it look awful? Something's wrong.
3 hours later.
Did I paint by mistake there? I did. Oh my god. Always make sure you don't paint by mistake over your thing. So this will look horrible right now, which is fine. It kind of makes sense too, unfortunately. But we still have the traceability of it, so that's pretty fine. I forgot to set this back up. Okay, so now we have this draw all together, and this is how it looks for me. It doesn't have to look exactly the same for you. By the way, I did have for the texture, so I have this damage that was the noise texture that we used actually last time, but you don't have to necessarily use it. You can also do it without it. It's perfectly fine. So now what we should be having is something like this. And it is actually looking pretty fire. We do have this little problem on the face here, because we still drew, I think, by mistake with our pen. Oh yeah, this is pretty good. This is fine. Good. So now having all these cleared up and actually looking pretty nice, we can get the bump and put like a 0.2, so it's not, you know, as flashy. It doesn't look as powerful. And also we can get this mix and, you know, put it into the roughness. So it does have, you know, different roughness. The metallic, we can put it back to 0, because we don't actually want the body to be full, you know, crazy. Okay, and we get something like this at the end of the day by looking at the mix shader. And to kind of see the result, go to the strength of the bump, and now we can actually make this a little more noticeable. We can also play, you know, with the scale of the bump, which I think it's pretty nice. So let me set this back to like 300. It does look pretty okay there. And of course, also play around with the noise texture and how much we want out of it. So 0.65 was still pretty okay. And the strength, let's set it to like a 0.5. That kind of does the trick. So this actually looks pretty good, and it's an idea for you on how to do your thing. Of course, this is you know, not the one thing we can do, and that's kind of what I think it's really the advantage of working in Blender. For example, I can change the color of this whenever I want, and really I'm just, you know, stopped by, well, nothing, to be totally honest with you. I can do whatever I want whenever I want, which is really, really good. And a pretty powerful tool in my hands, which I totally like. But we can also go and actually change this texture whenever we really feel like it. Just make sure the image texture is selected when you draw. And, you know, you can go right back at it and draw some more. And now this will, you know, both affect the roughness and the bump map, which is, to say the least, powerful. And it will make you really a powerhouse, because now you can change the design of this whenever you want, however you want. And yeah, for example here, let me do this just a tiny little bit thicker. I think it will look better. And yes, we're covering the dog a little bit, but it's fine. So it is actually being done. We can also, of course, do a little more than this. So instead of just playing around with this, we can actually play around with decals. I did show you how to put decals in the last episode, in the materials, right? Which was the dog. But for now, let's actually try to put the decals that are, you know, just simple old planes, because I personally prefer those a little bit better. So to do this part, right now we're talking about doing, well, really something not that important and not that hard, which is choose symbols. Choosing symbols, well, to be totally honest, is not that hard. What I did is actually just take a picture and use GIMP to actually change it. Really, I changed it for two reasons. First, I don't know how allowed I am to use this unedited. And I don't really think they will care too much about a channel with, you know, 200 people, maybe 500 after this episode, because if you will click the subscribe and if you will actually share this video, we might actually become a much bigger family here.
I don't have friends. I got family.
I'm just saying. But I don't really want this to be, you know, unedited. Plus, it doesn't really look exactly the part I wanted to. So first things first, I want this to be like the more emergency thing, but I want it to be my emergency, you know, sign and really look. So I'm gonna select this part right here in the middle, and what I will do with it is actually color it whatever I want it to. So for example, I can choose, I don't know, maybe this very bright orange. Why not? Looks pretty good to me. So we're going to do this, and with this we're actually going to make, let me have this, the snake and I guess the spike. We're gonna have this and actually color it something a little on the like opposite spectrum, because usually that does give a nice vibe to it. Does it give a nice vibe to it? It doesn't really, does it? Do you know what does? A dark blue does. Doesn't it? And because the eye was different back then, let's actually still make it different. We're going to set it back to the orange that it had, so that it looks a little more menacing. And more or less, this is kind of what I want. However, this, I don't want. So let's get rid of it. And this one right here, I don't want it to look like this. I'm gonna set it to the same dark blue right here. So our cross looks something like this. Might it change in the future? Totally, most probably. But for now, let me still select this, add a filter to it. I will add a noise filter, maybe a Perlin noise, should do, scale it up, something like this. Maybe the alpha a little bit more down. Let's see how this will look with a multiply. Too dark, I don't like it. Add, whoa, too bright. Screen, absolutely not. Overlay does more or less the best job. And I'm gonna put it to maybe a 50. Okay, this actually doesn't look that bad. Scale it to like a 3.5. And the alpha can get kind of around a 0.65. Seems to do the job pretty good. Okay, so it all is actually being done. Let's actually press OK on this one. Let's see if I can add one more. Oh no. Let's see if I can actually add some more effects to the actual snake. So as you can see, we did change this quite a bit. Got the artistic, and actually let's choose cubism. I always like how this looks. I know a lot of people might not enjoy it. I do though. So there's that. Maybe something like this. Does it look interesting? Not really. I really hoped it does, but it's a little too much. Glass tile. How about that? It will look really good if you can actually see it's a glass tile. And this part here can actually go to be not cartoonish. Even though I don't think that would have been that much of a bad idea. Qualify? This will not change too much. This doesn't have auto change. Maybe, yeah, let's add the tiles now. So something like this. Very minor, but you can still kind of get a vibe of it. So it looks pretty weird, maybe. I don't know. I like it. So I'm going to, well, keep it. So with this actually being done, let me actually do one more thing. Let's see where it is here. And then now I'm going to apply another filter. Of course, because why not? Probably the cubism one more time, because I didn't use it like crazy. I swear I don't have a problem with it. I'm just, I guess, loving it. So this actually looks more or less fine. You probably think it looks shit, and it's fine. Just subscribe, I guess. Okay, so having this, we're going to have this saved. So the art of decals, it's actually the art of being able to select a sticker or a picture that you like on whatever object you actually are working on. And yes, believe it or not, that's an art. I did actually show you how to edit a photo and how to, well, of course, you probably do know how to edit a photo. I just showed you in case you did not know. By the way, the program I did use, it's called GIMP. It's free of use and it's an open source, just like Blender. Totally try to check it out if you wanna. So I'm not gonna actually put this here because it's already having something, because it has a dog. I'm gonna put the decal on the other side. What really happens is you don't wanna cluster one part of the object, one part of your character, for example, with everything, and the other side to be absolutely and utterly empty and loss of detail. It's just going to make, well, it does help in a little way. So sometimes you want to bring more attention to one side of the character, absolutely. And yes, you'll make that side a little more interesting. So I'm not talking about, you know, perfect symmetry or whatever, but try to put more or less an equal number or a very close number of stuff on one side and the other, because that way it's going to actually help your character to look a little more, you know, normal, and it's going to help it look pretty okay. Click right to actually get your cursor, you know, on the surface of your object. Let's actually hide the arms for now, because we don't need those. Something like this. Yeah, this should be good. So Ctrl-3 to actually go on the left side of our robot. And then now what we really have to do, let me actually try to center this a little more. You can actually do something pretty interesting. You will add a plane. I know, it's the most interesting stuff ever. Let's scale this down, apply its scale for now. RY90, so that we actually rotate it on the 90 degrees on the y-axis. And now let's actually try to more or less set this parallel to the surface we're going to actually stick it to, right? So let me actually just move it. Actually, not move it too much. I don't know why I'm trying to move everything. So set it more or less, you know, use shift to have incremental moves. And this actually should be doing a pretty good job. You know, G and Y just a little bit more to have it a little more in the middle. Something like this should work. We don't really care that much, and you'll see why in just 1 second. Let's actually add just shrink wrap modifier. And let's stick it to the subject. Also, let's set this to the above and have it, I don't know, 1 millimeter above the surface. Should suffice. So with this actually being here, all you need to do is actually give this a material. I know, it's not the craziest thing, is it? So I did show you how to put some decals before. This is a little more in depth. So this is, you know, every single step to how you do it, and this is how you do it properly. I think before I either skipped some steps either, I don't know, maybe I didn't explain it that well. Or if I did, hey, thank you. But I think you should still watch this video. So I just need an image texture. Normally you would put, the Ctrl T to have the mapping and the geometry texture coordinate. However, it's a plane. There's nothing to coordinate on because it's a plane. You will still put a picture on it. And this is usually where you use, for a little bit of a shortcut, you use images as planes, which is an add-on that comes with Blender. So to actually set that up, you actually will have to go to Edit, Preferences, go to Add-ons, and just write images. I'll also spell it right if you can, because apparently I can't. And yeah, import images as planes, and it will basically do all this, like set the material already for you. I just showing you how to do it in case you want to know the entire process. So it is actually being here. Go and take the picture you already had. Okay, so with the picture I created, you can actually see it right here. We have it, and it doesn't actually look too right. So first things first, I can actually come over here, R, X, and 90. But it doesn't do a good job. So R, X twice. Actually, we will need to probably use Z. So press Z twice, and then 90. And this rotated it. Why do you press Z twice? Again, this is really something I explained in the beginner tutorial, so you actually should check that out. But it's basically using the local coordinates instead of the global coordinates, just in case you did not know that. So after we do have the image set up here, what we do actually need to have done are really two things. So as you can see, we see a black background, but our image doesn't have a black background, right? It's transparent, and I don't know what that was. It was properly not something you should hear, and I said properly instead of probably. I don't know what's wrong with me. So what really happens is when you bring the image in, Blender doesn't have the default options really well set up. So let me actually move myself one more time so that you can actually see the settings, because you have to go to the material settings, and actually you have to go to viewport display settings, and right here you will see the blend mode. So the blend mode here is set to opaque, which, well, it's not actually good. You have to set this to alpha hashed, but as you can see, nothing really happens. And again, if you use images as planes, the add-on I talked to you about, this is actually going to work properly. However, it is not working right now, and the real reason for it, it's just because the alpha is not actually connected to our principled PSDF, and now as you can see, it works properly. However, if I had this set on opaque, it still not would have worked. You can, of course, if alpha hash doesn't work for you, try alpha clip or alpha blend. Usually at least one of them should work. Alpha hashed is actually the one that usually works the best, but it really depends. In some cases, alpha clip is the one that worked for me. I can't tell you exactly why, but hey, try it out, see what's going on. So we have this, and it looks really good. So why would I ever take this in the detriment of, actually, why wouldn't I pick this in the detriment of, the material? Well, two reasons I can actually think of. First things first, the material, I can have full control over it, basically, because on this image plane, first of all, I can paint over whenever I want, and also I can delete parts of it whenever I want. If you do remember, we did delete parts of our image here whenever we wanted. Because really, that's kind of the whole procedural material stuff that I love about Blender. You can work everything inside the shader material stuff without actually having any worries. However, with the decal thing, it's basically a totally different body. And yes, that's another problem that I do consider a problem. As you can see here, it creates a different body. So what that does mean? What does that mean? Sorry. It adds geometry, which we don't really want with that texture here. The reason I love it, it's that the moment you have this and you actually bake it, you can just use an image texture, and that's literally it. You don't need anything else. While with this one, you will always basically have some more geometry over it. And yes, it's a plane. It shouldn't do too much harm. However, when you bring like, I don't know, 17 decals for one body, yeah, it's not really the most pleasant thing. So actually, let's call this emergency sign. What's wrong with me today? Okay, so having this, I'm actually going to put this into, actually, you know what? I'm gonna make a new folder right here called decals. Good, so we have this. Let me actually scale it down because I don't need it to be this big. And let me go and check it out. I'm going to move it on everything by the X, and it should do pretty well here. And you know what? I gotta move it just slightly to be, you know, kind of stick there, not exactly perfectly placed. Good. And now let's actually see if the arms are getting in the way of our sticker there. I don't think it should. No, it doesn't have anything to do with it. It's still too low for it. So okay, that's pretty fire. Looks pretty good. Good, I enjoy this. Okay. Let's see what else I can do. So first things first, what I would like to do now is actually give it a little bit of my own signature. Yes, I am that much of a narcissist. What can I say? Well, that and I kind of want my channel's name to be on stuff so that people see it. Still a narcissist if you ask me. So let's actually get another principal BSDF for this. And of course another images as plain, but as I did already tell you, we're going to use the factorial for that because that's what we really need. And let's call this, well, this channel's name. Hopefully you already know it. Otherwise I kind of worked all this time for nothing. Okay. Still should do pretty fine. And now let's actually go into the texture painting part. And again, the image is going to be absolutely black because there's no more thing here. But again, you have to also remember where you're painting. So actually what I will do is going to be a little bit stranger. And I don't even know how well it's going to work. I'm just kind of hoping for this one. Let's see. Okay, it's not working perfectly fine because the angle is pretty bad. So let me try to take it from here. Yeah, it's gonna be a little more difficult here. Okay, this doesn't look that bad. Does it? Probably it does. Anyway, I like it. So this actually here is gonna be a little bit of an Easter egg. Well, it's not that much of an Easter egg, honestly, but again, narcissistic, what can I say? Let's actually color this something that I'm not gonna totally hate. And for this, we can actually use colors. So actually, let's restart the generator. And the only thing I will have to do before everything goes nuts is get the hex for this one because that's the main color we have, and really I kind of want it already. Okay, so now that I have that hex and I have the generator already having this, I can lock this and just, you know, see new colors that I think actually kind of work with it. This actually will not do that bad. Let's see. I swear, sites like those are actually really helpful for people like me that have absolutely no clue about colors. Swear to God, I'm really bad with this. Let's see if I can make this metallic. Does that help me out? Not really. I don't really like it. Personally, I kind of hate it. So let me actually use the image texture one more time. Let me actually move this so that I can try to arrange this a little bit so that it makes a little more sense. And I do recommend you do this as well. I don't think you'll see it that well. Now you should see a little better what I'm doing. Because by doing this kind of stuff, this kind of movements, you will have a little bit more organization in your shader editor and in your geometry nodes, which usually helps. Okay, and this again should actually give me information for my roughness. Okay, so the roughness again is given by this, but also let me give a bump map. This time we're not going to use actually a noise texture because I don't need that. So let's give it a height. Okay, it looks absolutely horrible, but that is because this is way too high. Let's try to invert that, see how that looks, to be a little more like carved in rather than what the other one was, which was, you know, kind of bumping out of our texture. This actually doesn't look totally horrible. However, I would strongly suggest I don't like it. That's a good way. I'm sorry if I'm breathing too loud into the mic, I swear to God. I'm still not used to the mic being in front of me this time, so let me actually try to slightly move it. This actually should help a little bit. But yeah, I swear to God. Yeah, let me actually try to generate more colors, and whenever I actually get a good color, I will come back to you. So there it actually is. I did actually change finally a color, and besides that, I did add one more node, which is the invert color node. For those that don't know what this node basically does, actually, let me put it up here for you. So this is how this looks, right? This is what the invert node does. It basically reverses where the black is and where the white is. So if this is turned off, this is how the image texture originally is, the way we drew it. Actually, you can see it here as well. Turn it on, and it basically changes the black into white and reverse. So with this actually being done, we kind of get what we want, which is pretty fine, isn't it? Well, yes, and however, not yet. Just yet. We're still going to use the same technique to basically do a few more things. However, I'm gonna go back to the other material we had, to this one right here, to the paint, because again, this is the magic, if I may say so myself, of this thing. You can edit this afterwards, which is kind of what makes Blender, in my opinion at least, superior, that you don't need to panic if there's any mistake, you can still fix it, just like I did earlier with exactly this number. So for example, what I would like to do here is actually use this damage right here. And actually I'm gonna use my my pencil, but actually what I will do is actually take the radius off, so just the strength will be affected. But what I want to do, and this is actually something I'm really keen on, so let me turn this down pretty much like this, and everything is kind of set up. So basically what I want to do is delete some parts, not a lot, so don't, you know, go jabber into, you know, the numbers and anything, but okay, just like I did there, don't do that. Okay, just slightly paint wherever you think it works. Also, don't, you know, be shy on making this smaller, and then yes, you can kind of go and chop a little bit out of the number, but again, don't do that too intensely. Just kind of make it look as if, you know, some random parts were there, because I kind of need that vibe. We kind of need that vibe. So let us do some holes even in there, even here maybe, something like this. Could work just fine. Let's actually even uncover the doggy a little bit here. It's pretty cool. Also maybe here a little bit. So basically this is just adding a little bit more detail. Now of course you could use the same technique we used for the dog, which actually is maybe even more helpful in this case. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, instead of using this texture, you can actually use a texture mask and actually use like a damage, an image with damage or whatever, and you can actually paint with that over. So basically it will look a little more realistic, but at the same time, think about the need of it. Do you really need that? In my case, for example, I don't really. I just kind of wanted to show that you can do that. And really, I wanted to add just a little bit of difference. I don't want these numbers to look too similar, and I want them to not look also too, you know, perfect. They have to be pretty much painted away because, well, this is what they are. Remember, this is a damaged robot. Well, this one isn't supposed to be as damaged as the last one we did, but still, it kind of has to still have that point, that part. So for example, let's say this is enough. Another extremely important thing, and I say this every single time I have the occasion, save your image textures. Do the same to the other two pictures. Okay, so after you actually do save your work, what we can do is actually go and do a little bit more stuff to it. Basically, you can use the exact same things we just did, right? So let me actually do it. Where is it? Let me go to the material, and actually let's go. Well, it doesn't really matter which body I'm doing this to, but I don't want to cluster one part, just like I said earlier. First of all, it's going to be way harder to keep the track. Even though this one is not the slimmest one either, but hey, I can make it work. And we create one more, and this is actually gonna be probably the final one. So yeah, a lot of texture painting in this. I'm gonna show the end product that I got at the end. I'm gonna set this to 0.5 for now, because I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter, because it's gonna be my image texture to begin with. Let's actually get this, and this will, you know, be right here. Right now we don't need to see it. And we also need a principal BSDF one more time. And with this here, get this. You might wonder why I'm doing it like this. Well, just to really get this point out. I don't really care where it goes. And let's actually put it to the roughness right now, because again, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so with this actually done, let's create a new image. This one we'll call damage plus rust. This one I'm actually going to make 2K. So there's that. And what this will do is going to be a little different from what the other images really did. So first things first, it's very important for this one to have a bump. If the other ones were okay to have a bump or not, this one is actually quite crucial to have it, because it's actually kind of the whole point of what I'm doing here. So you know, let's have a bump map. And I'm not having, I mean, I don't think you can see the screencast keys because of me anyway, but I'm gonna try my best. Oh, you can see it. Oh, you can't see it anymore. Let me actually see if I can solve down. Okay, good. Now you'll see. Again, we need a bump map. So the bump map, already we can connect it to the height, and this one to the normal. Leave it to 1 for now so that we can actually see a little more clear what we're doing. And again, this one is called damage and rust. So let's actually find the image that we're going to paint over. And this is the one, right? So it's all nice and dandy, really. We worked so far already. It's, you know, not that big of a deal. However, let's actually plug this in so that we see what we work with. Because right now, nothing will have changed. We will have the exact same material that we had until we got here, right? Pretty much so. However, we can change some stuff. So again, I can draw wherever I want, and I actually like how that line looks. I'm just saying. I'm gonna paint a lot, by the way, over, but I'm not showing you all of it because it will be boring as fuck. I will show you how to do this, and then I'll go to work myself, and then at the end actually show you how it looks. So, what we will do is first invert the bump map. That is extremely important. Okay. I will actually like to make this a little more, you know, orange colored. So let's see what it looks like. It's not doing too much of that because it doesn't matter. You can change the color of your principal BSDF, but it's not gonna mean shit. Right, so as you can see, it does work. However, it's not really working too well because the color should be orange once you go here though. It's a cool effect, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm probably going to take a little bit of use of it. However, this is not what I wanted to show you. So basically what I will do is take my shiny tools here, okay, and let's actually insert it here. Well, I don't have the image anymore, but you know, that's not that big of a deal. So I can bring it over just like that. And that's actually a pretty good way for you to see how to do it. Just get the image texture. I do have it here, like so, and then just go and search. Right now it's going to be a little bit of a problem because it's going to change the texture every time. So basically, you know, that's why I basically kind of like to not work with that, because it will show you each time we change this, and you will have to update the materials every time, and it's kind of, you know, harder to work with, which I kind of hate, but hey, it is what it is for now. Okay, so having this done right here, we can also connect the principal BSDF to our material here. Okay, so having this all set, more or less, we can again connect this image texture to the height of the bump map, which again will update our texture. So actually, let's just look at our image texture, because that way we won't have that much trouble actually, you know, modifying it. So what the image texture really will do is basically tell us where the damage and the rust will, well, be. But unfortunately, actually, we do need to see it, now that I say to think about it. Or at least we need to see the principled BSDF. Nah, we need to see all of it. And there's a pretty big reason for it. We won't need this to be super big. So another thing is that this, again, doesn't need to be super damaged. So because of that, I'm actually going to take a little bit care of how I'm using this damage, right? So I cannot use it like crazy. I have to be pretty careful to, you know, kind of keep in mind where I'm going to be. So the metallic will be turned on to its fullest. That is actually super important. And also the color here of the principal BSDF, I will turn it to more or less a darker orange, because really I need it to be way rustier, and you know, a very bright orange wouldn't necessarily help me that much. Now, of course, what I will really do is actually get a color ramp, like so, and actually change the colors here, because that way I can actually, you know, combine the colors. So have it sort of like this, but probably again, a lot of you might realize that this will not work properly, and really the big reason behind it, you know, whenever this will actually want to work, the big reason behind it will be the fact that this will just basically make more or less of a gradient. We don't need a gradient texture. So what really will I do? Well, it's actually, again, extremely simple. I will plug a noise texture into this one. Super simple, super easy to do. And this one will actually have the Control T, you know, for the mapping and the texture coordinate right here, so that we can actually have our trusty noise, for which we should also probably use the UV. Okay, so basically we set up every single thing we need to be doing, right? We do have the colors, more or less. We're still probably going to change them a little bit, but we do have the colors, we do have the noise texture, and now we do have the image texture, where we'll tell these orange colors basically to be. So really there's nothing else that remains to be done. Okay, so here we are basically, so I have to kind of get you through what I did, right? Because I did get into one little trouble, and I'm actually going to show it to you right now. So apparently, I would presume this is a bug from Blender. So basically, if you get a noise texture and actually plug it into the color ramp or the bump map, doesn't really matter which one, and you actually set it in, which I wanted to do because I would be able to, you know, procedurally control the bump map and, well, the color, really, and the roughness, of course. It would have been just a little more pleasant. Well, Blender said a big because guess what? I'm gonna not work. And of course, that really bugged me because it doesn't make any sense. I did do this before and it worked. For some reason, it doesn't want to do it this time. Now, I have two assumptions for which that happens. First, I think it might be just because Blender's gonna get confused because I'm using a lot of mixed shader nodes, as you can probably see. It's probably bugging it a little bit, and I kind of get that. Totally right. However, the second thing, and I do believe in this one just a little bit more, it's the fact that because I'm already using the image texture as the factorial, you cannot use the noise texture as well, because basically you will make Blender, you know, kind of beat them head to head, even though it shouldn't, because Blender should control only the principled BSDF, while the image texture only tells where the principled BSDF will be applied. So basically, they should never go head to head. However, apparently it seems it will, which is annoying, I know. So I'm sorry for that. But I did find a way around it, and that way is actually, instead of the noise texture, we're going to use the image texture we've just created. And actually the reason for it, it's pretty simple. It is already a noise texture. So I'm going to connect this to the roughness as well. It's going to control basically everything we have. So here's where this kind of came from. If you're going to come over here, at the settings stuff, let me just move myself over here, right? What will happen here, it's actually you use a noise texture already as the texture you're painting with, which means when you're gonna paint in, you have this, which is a dot that is more or less like a rust dot. Which is exactly what we want. And from here on out, here's the even sweeter deal. And this is where the noise texture I was talking about was a little better, because you can basically paint this over, and then with a noise texture, control how those painted things in would look. Even though saying that kind of makes sense why Blender wouldn't let it happen, because basically it would procedurally control texture. But you do procedurally control texture paint, so it wouldn't be like the first time Blender does it. Yeah, I really can't understand why it wouldn't. But okay, so here we are, right? It is what it is. So let's say I'm gonna paint a little bit here. Of course, I'm gonna, exaggerate it a little bit. Maybe not this much. It's a little too much. But something more or less like this, right? And have some rust here. Whatever. So I'm gonna have this, right? And, I can still control the bump map of it, which I'm super glad. Of course, if you want even more control, you can always put a color ramp in between. And then you can even control, how the black and white colors actually will control your bump map. Okay, and also, of course, even better, you can change its coloring. So as you can see, this does affect the color that we have. So you do procedurally kind of have this as well. So yeah, no, I was wrong. It does make sense for Blender not to let you have all light control. Kind of get a little bit of a darker color here. Something like this. Right, so you can do these little details here, here and there, and you can put them all over your body. And really, this is kind of it. These are the tricks that I'm going to be using to get this body painted. I'm going to do all of that and actually come back to you with a final result and, the usual outro that I have for videos. So let's actually get to work and get to the end.